Okay, guys, we're going to pick up on page 14. We had the ladies, Ms. Baker and Daisy, making fun of the butler who had to spend all day polishing silver. We pick up at the top of page 14. Yes, things went from bad to worse for the butler, the silver polisher, until finally he had to give up his position. For a moment, the last sunshine fell with romantic affection upon her glowing face. Her voice compelled me forward breathlessly as I listened. Then the glow faded, each light deserting her with lingering regret, like children leaving a pleasant street at dusk. The butler came back and murmured something close to Tom's ear, whereupon Tom frowned, pushed back his chair, and without a word went inside, as if his absence quickened something within her. And that's worth noting. Tom leaves, and then Daisy kind of goes into action mode. And her action is always going to be the same, regardless of the situation. She's always going to be flirting, kind of thing. Can't get this tool to highlight very well, but I'm going to highlight this passage because I think this is what's most important. So she leans forward, and remember, we've already been told what Nick has heard about what she does with her voice. She gets a little lighter and softer when she's flirting, so men have to lean in. "I'd love to see you at my table, Nick. You remind me of a rose, an absolute rose, doesn't he?" She turned to Miss Baker for confirmation. An absolute rose? What an odd comparison. A man to a rose? I don't think most men would want to be compared to a rose, but this is all part of her flirtation. This was untrue. I'm not even faintly like a rose. She was only extemporizing. And guys, to extemporize means that you're performing. So Tom has gotten up. There is no other man at the table. Her husband is occupied inside. So now she's performing. She's flirting. She's trying to play games with Nick. So this is just core to what Daisy is. So as we think about the beginning of this novel, we have all of this wealth. And you would think wealth would mean that you could do some real things in the world, but that's not true for the Buchanans. Their lives are very superficial, very petty. And we're getting clear signs that this marriage isn't very strong. She was only extemporizing, but a stirring warmth flowed from her, as if her heart was trying to come out to you concealed in one of those breathless, thrilling words. Then suddenly she threw her napkin on the table and excused herself and went into the house. So game over. She's got to see what Tom's doing. Miss Baker and I exchanged a short glance, consciously devoid of meaning. So as they look at each other, Nick and Miss Baker, they're not giving up what they're thinking. This is awkward. It's uncomfortable. Nick's a rose kind of thing. But they're not going to discuss it because they don't know each other. I was about to speak when she sat up alertly and said, "Shh," in a warning voice. A subdued, impassioned murmur was audible in the room beyond, and Miss Baker leaned forward, unashamed, trying to hear. So Miss Baker's eavesdropping on the marriage drama. The murmur trembled on the verge of coherence, sank down, mounted excitedly, then ceased altogether. "This Miss Gatsby you spoke of is my neighbor," I said. "Don't talk. I want to hear what happens." "Is something happening?" I inquired innocently. "You mean to say you don't know?" said Miss Baker, honestly surprised. "I thought everybody knew." "I don't." "Why," she said hesitantly, "Tom's got some woman in New York." "Got some woman?" I replied blankly. Miss Baker nodded. "She might have the decency not to telephone him at dinner, don't you think?" Okay, so Tom has a woman, meaning he has a mistress. He's having an affair on his wife. Please understand that in these very, very wealthy circles, almost to a certain extent, it's acceptable. It's almost expected. Certainly in 1920s wealth, it would have been an acceptable thing for this rich, rich man to have multiple women. And as the wife, Daisy's just supposed to put up with it. So, guys, this kind of changes how I feel about Daisy because I've been pretty annoyed with her. She's a flirt, this breathy, soft voice to draw men in. I don't like the games, but now I understand that she's also a little bit caught. Her husband's cheating on her, and he's not even working very hard to hide it, nor is the woman working very hard to hide it if she's willing to call her lover at his house, kind of thing. Almost before I had grasped her meaning, there was the flutter of a dress and the crunch of leather boots, and Tom and Daisy were back at the table. "It couldn't be helped," cried Daisy with tense gaiety. So forced joyfulness. Daisy's trying to cover that she's feeling anything about what just happened with that phone call. She sat down, glanced searchingly at Miss Baker and then at me and continued. I looked outdoors for a minute and it's very romantic outdoors. There's a bird on the lawn that I think must be a nightingale come over in the coon yard or white star line. So this is even fantastic. Birds have hopped on passenger ships and come over from England, come over from somewhere. That doesn't even make sense. He's singing away, her voice sang. It's romantic, isn't it, Tom? So she's kind of flirting with her husband now, knowing full well that he just got off the phone with his mistress. So this is awkward. Very romantic, he said, and then miserably to me. If it's light enough after dinner, I want to take you down to the stables. Well, of course, Tom wants to go down to the stables. He wants to escape this uncomfortable dinner in which his wife knows exactly what's going on. The telephone rang inside, startlingly, and as Daisy shook her head decisively at Tom, the subject of the stables, in fact, all subjects, vanished into air. Among the broken fragments of the last 5 minutes at table, I remembered the candles being lit again, pointlessly, and I was conscious of wanting to look squarely at everyone and yet to avoid all eyes. Nick is very uncomfortable, and I get it. I couldn't guess what Daisy and Tom were thinking, but I doubt if even Miss Baker, who seemed to have mastered a certain hearty skepticism, was able utterly to put this fifth guest's shrill, metallic urgency out of mind. And I kind of like that. Fifth guest being the mistress who keeps calling. To a certain temperament, the situation might have seemed intriguing. My own instinct was to telephone immediately for the police. So Nick is kind of being funny, a little bit tongue in cheek here. He says certain people, kind of like Jordan Baker, who was eavesdropping, they might find this fascinating. They might find this interesting. But he wants to call the cops because the atmosphere is so awkward. So clear that he is not liking this. We're going to stop here at page 16, and then I'll load 16 and 17. Uno momento.